Welcome, viewing several once again. This is episode 45 of my little series I like to call Hands Up Who Loves a Train Set? Me. Right, so what I got for you today? Well, first one of 2026. This is a recent Hornby edition. It's part of the Triang Railways Remembered series that they issued in 2022. And it's like the old RS30 that Triang Railways did. It came out in 1963, and that was the crash set. So it comes with a Jinty loco, a crane, an engineer's wagon, and a little flatbed thing. This being a vintage style set, I had a lot of trouble working out whether it would come with first radius. In theory it should. Some people have said, well, you don't get a controller, but you never got controllers very often in the original Triang type sets, so that's kind of consistent with that. But when we open the box, you'll see there's a lot of contradiction in what the actual radius you get with it. So the reason I haven't bought one of these sets until now, and I've seen them I think this was second hand, good condition. I haven't bought them because I've always thought they were third radius, and we'll talk about why there's that confusion. There's several reasons why that confusion exists, and I'll go through those in a bit. So this particular set, you can see it looks a bit like it's a bit like Uncle Bryn, doesn't it, on the there, and there's a girl on it. Now, as far as I can tell, these pictures did appear in the 60s, but not on this set originally. This didn't have a girl on it. This looks like a photo that would have appeared on the Australian export sets. Now, on the New Zealand and Australian sets, they did have girls. Now, I would guess, this being the 60s, that girl is almost certainly going to be called Susan. So we'll call her Susan. So Susan's there, and that's good. She's allowed to come and play with the trains with her brother and her dad. And the dad doesn't have a pipe either. So, but as I say, looking at my Triang books, it looks like this was from a New Zealand set from later on in the 60s. Anyway, it's an okay picture, and the packaging of this is really nice, and we'll get into it more in a minute. But yeah, I managed to get this. As I say, I got it used, and in the end I did go for one. I've seen the passenger one that they issued a couple of years ago, and it wasn't clear what radius track it was. As I say, when I open the box, we'll see why, and the catalogue and everything else I've shown, why it's not entirely obvious what radius you get with it. So we'll have a look inside, shall we? I mean, it's a lovely set. So we'll have a look inside, and because it is first radius, I will be setting it up on this desk with the track that it comes with. The other reason it's a bit ambiguous is these sets have been reviewed by other people on here, and generally they don't even look at the track. So I watched a few reviews to see if I could work out what radius the track was. You can usually tell if it's second radius because you can tell by looking at it. I've got a piece here somewhere. If I just third radius track, you can tell it's got that bit in the middle where it's like I don't know if we can show that, but there's like that bit there where it's the two pieces joined together, so they're like two. This is a double straight, so it's got two single, and the sleepers are just two different pieces. But you don't get that on first. You don't get that on that gap on first radius. So that was one clue. Anyway, that's third radius, which we're not going to be using, but it is first radius. And as I was saying, on a lot of the reviews, the reviewers don't set up the track that comes with it. They will just run the rolling stock and locomotive on their existing layout, which is not a criticism, but it was, I might be unique in wanting to know what the radius was, but I did manage to ask the seller to have a look, and I said if it's R605 it will be first radius, and he confirmed that, so that was good. I'll when I show you in the catalogue and on their website, and also inside the box, the picture of the space needed is doesn't give the impression it's first radius, but we'll get to that. So this is, yeah, I'm going to review it, and I'm going to use the track that come with it, because obviously in my case I want that to go on this desk, whereas I can understand why other people don't do that, because they've already got you know, like a layout set up, so that's why. But it was just harder for me to find out. But as I say, I can't be the only one who likes first radius, and because of limited space. Anyway, let's have a look inside it. Right now, inside the box, what we've got is we've got a retro style piece of yellow cardboard. Now the box itself is made of lovely thick cardboard, and then you've got this yellow thing which basically makes it look like the old sets. However, it's what it actually is. It's a little cover, and you can see we've got our classic pulp tray, as we like to call it. So there we go, you can see there, space required 4 by 3.5 foot, and it gives you it in metric. That is not first radius, that is third radius. So that's one of the annoying things. And on Hornby's website it shows the generic cut and paste picture of the contents, and that is clearly third radius track because of what I showed you with the gap in it. So that's annoying. So it's difficult to know. Some of the blurb says first radius oval, but even in the catalogue it shows you that size, which is not first radius. So we'll get to that when we look at the catalogue entry. So that made it confusing, but if you pull this out, this is clearly first radius. So I don't know if I can show that, but that is R605, which is first radius, which is what I wanted. Not everyone likes it, but to be honest with you, with a train set like this, I think a little train going round is much nicer to have it on a table in a small space, and some of these little things are lost on a great big oval, quite frankly. It's all well and good for the longer passenger trains, but for this, you know, I like a first radius. So we got the loop, we got a couple of bits of straight. One thing you do get, you're getting one of these old power connectors. Now whether I'll use that, I probably am going to use a modern connector, but you do get one of these, which is the old uncoupling ramp with the thing on it, so that's quite nice. Obviously there's not a siding, so it's yeah, well, you know, you get it, it's okay. Underneath the pulp tray there's just the usual manual and paperwork that we don't normally bother to look at on these sets because it's not that interesting. But I will be looking at some of the older catalogues and some of the Triang history books to show the older sets. Now, what are we going to look at first? Right, what I'm going to do is locomotive. It's a Jinty, but it isn't the same. This is a more modern tooling. I think this is the 1978 tooling, where you can't see the XO3 or XO4 motor. It's already had some vacuum pipes on it. It seems to have a bit more detail than most of the Jintys that I've got, so I might do a little, as a Brucey bonus for this episode, I might compare it to some of the older tooled Jintys plus some older Hornby Jintys, and just so that, you know, we can do a comparison, which would be nice. And the other thing I'd probably do is, as a Brucey bonus, is I'm going to set up the Gauge Master controller to start with, but I think what I also am going to do is bring in the HM6000 and run it with the steam engine sound. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I've recently got an iPad, and so running HM6000 should be a lot easier than on my phone, which is packed up now, my little phone. So I've actually got an iPhone I'm filming this on, so I've had to buy an iPhone to replace the Samsung, not the Samsung, it's a Motorola, and my Chromebook has had it, so I bought an iPad, and then my MacBook Pro, which is an old Intel one, that kind of just started playing up. I don't think it can cope with the latest OS from Apple, and so I've ended up replacing that as well with a Mini Mac M4. So hopefully all of this is going to be, you know, the video process will be a lot easier now, but we'll see. But yeah, I want to try the HM6000 on the iPad, so we'll do that, and then we'll have a look at some other Jintys as well that I've got. But before we do that, we'll just have a little look at this crane. Now you can see it feels pretty good. I mean, it feels quite heavy. That base, I mean, it must be plastic, surely. It feels like die cast, but I don't think it can be. But you see it's articulated, and you've even got, you can turn that and wind it in. Obviously I need to, yeah, we're going to need to sort that out. Right, so we're back after the cut, and you can see that does wind up and down. You have to wind it down a bit for it to fit in there. And then you get this little wagon to go with it, which is a nice little wagon. They look like, it's, you know, made in China, but it's decent. And then the engineer's coach is just a very old clerestory coach with no interior, and says engineering department on it. But you know, it's pretty cool. That would have been fairly close to what you got in the original one, I'm guessing. So yes. So what we'll do now is, as you can see, it's a really pretty nice set. I'll just show you under the pulp tray. So yeah, you've got the 2022 catalogue, which is when this was issued. Well, not catalogue, it's just a little brochure. But yeah, so that's it's a very well made set in terms of packaging and everything. Obviously the pulp tray, that will fit in there. Just need to press it down. So we'll have a look at the catalogue entry. 2022 catalogue. We have a flip through here. Like I said the other day, this is a good catalogue. There was a lot of more exciting things in this one. So you can see we've got these remembered ones. We've got this old 00 style set. I've actually reviewed one of those, one of the 60s ones, which is the Duchess of Montrose with a couple of carriages in the old tin plate 3 rail. I haven't got one of these modern reproductions, but these locomotives are apparently die cast, so that's pretty cool. And you can see they've got the Harry Potter stuff in there, all this Coca-Cola stuff, and then the rest of the normal train sets. But here we can see this is the Triang revival stuff. And this one here is the one here. So you'll see inside the catalogue itself, but not on the website, it says space required 3.1, 3 foot 1 inch by 2 foot 6, 940 by 770. That is first radius. So in the catalogue it says it's first radius. On Hornby's website, I think it said it was, it gave the impression it was third radius. So yeah, there was some confusion there. And as you've seen, that disagrees with what it actually says here. So it's possible that some of these revival sets did have this track in that was third radius. I don't know. This is the only one I've got. But these two, and there was these two, and then there was the one they had in last year's catalogue, or 2024 catalogue now, 2 years ago. That was supposedly first radius, but again it showed a bigger space requirement, so who knows. I wish Hornby would just be consistent. It'd be much help, wouldn't it? Right, so what I'm going to do next is we'll have a look at the original set in one of these books. Unfortunately, there isn't a picture of it in here, but it's listed here: RS30, Jinty Engineer's Train, R127 crane, R17 match truck, and R620 black clerestory coach. 8 double curves and 2 straights. So it says 1963, 19,000 were made and withdrawn in 1966. So there isn't, I don't think there's a picture of it on the page after, or the page before that, but you get the idea. These were what the boxes were like. You can see that there has the picture that we've got on ours, and that actually does have Susan. There she is, look. So she was on the Pickup Goods set, R24, from 1962. So I was slightly wrong about that. So yeah, there's Susan. However, the picture that you originally got on this particular crash set, I think would have been that one with Pipe Dad and his two sons. But there you go. So at least it is period correct, and maybe some sets were available with Susan. But yeah, I like the one. I like the picture with Susan. That's good. Now, I think it's probably time to get it set up and see what it runs like. Right, it's a quick look at 3 examples of this 3F Jinty locomotive. I've got more of these. I've got a couple more of these. One is a non-smoke. This one has got the smoke generator fitted, and this is a Triang one. Let's have a look. Does it say Triang? Yes, Triang. But it's the one with the smoke fitted. I've got a couple more of these, and these are the tooling that I first had as a kid in 1974 with my Hornby goods set. You can see that XO4 motor or XO3 motor through the cab there, and this is the 1952 tooling. You can see no flanges on the middle wheels, quite coarse wheels, but great little locos. These were produced up until 1976, when the tooling just wore out and it was dropped. So they introduced that kind of J83, but within 2 years they brought the new tooling out, which is in 78, which is this one, and it's ever so slightly longer. I don't know if you can see that, but it was slightly longer, very slightly longer. If I just line those up, you can see they're very difficult to see, but it's slightly longer. And of course, a more modern motor that doesn't protrude into the cab. There's some cab detail. I don't know what's with that one. Let me have a look at that. Yeah, so that's got the cab details just kind of on a yellow printed piece of plastic there. And this is exactly the same, but it's just a newer one. They've obviously made some improvements over the years. You can see underneath, this one had the motor, the drive at the front, and then these later ones have got the drive in the middle, more conventional. So the chassis has been changed over the years. This is a made in Margate model from the 70s, and this is a new one for 2022 model. So let's have a look at the other wheels. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much the same. You've got flange middle wheels on both of these now, but they go around first radius, no problem, even with that. And then this old one is considerably heavier, I think. But these are the classic ones that I grew up with. These I've got a few of them. I haven't got the one I had as a kid anymore, but these I'm rather fond of, and yeah, they were my first locos with these. So this is kind of like that, but it's a newer tooling of it. So it's, you know, it's pretty good. So this for me is quite a nice set, and I've got lots of these in other original 60s Triang sets and early 70s Hornby sets, so very much my era. I've obviously got a lot of the 040s because I've collected a few sets, but they really came after you know, the Jintys, and they weren't what I had as a kid. I've just collected them more recently. So these are where it's at for me, nostalgia wise. So there we go. I have got another one of these that came with a digital set, but it's no different from this. It's got different livery. It's just plain black, and it's pre-fitted hardwired DCC, but there's nothing, it's not different enough to really warrant showing it at this stage. So anyway, we'll get them set up now. Okay, so we are on the track at last. Now we've had some we've had a lot of fun tonight trying to get this running. What happened was, I think it hasn't been used since new, and the grease has gone hard. So it ran, and then on the corner it kind of seized up, and it's the motor started burning. It's burning smell, and I've had eventually I think what happened is, I think this capacitor, there we go, is started to act like a thermistor, and it would run and then it would slow down and then get really hot. So I cut that out, and then it was fine. So then I put in a new capacitor, a 0.1 microfarad cap. And then I was getting shorting when I was putting the body back on, so there was a lot of messing about to do, but it seems to run now. But I think the initial problem was I took the motor out, and the chassis wouldn't roll on its own, it kept getting stuck, and so I had to, there was all just dried up grease on the worm gear on the drive wheel. So yeah, so I think it's okay now. So let's the other thing is, Hornby sent me this in one of my previous videos with the iTraveller set. I had a short on the point that was actually underneath. There was nothing I could do. The only thing I could do was to Dremel it underneath and remove the wires. But they've sent me another one as a replacement, so that's good. And the other thing is, I was going to run this with the HM6000, but because it's taken so long to get the locomotive running, I'm not going to do that tonight. What I'm going to do, there's too many new things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video with HM6000 running on an iPad, because it's I've only tried it on a really old phone, and I think on a big screen iPad it's going to be really nice. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to try HM7000 on the iPad. But I think I'm going to leave all that for a separate video. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come round and pick up this train. Right, so off we go again. So it's running okay now, but it was pretty bad, and that purple the LMS Jinty that I showed you, for some reason that stopped working as well now, so I'm going to have to go back and look at why that stopped working. So I was using that to test things, and because that wasn't working, that was a red herring as well. But as you can see, this is now it's running. It's really rather nice. So let's increase the speed. I think that's a really lovely looking train, that. Obviously this is going to go a lot faster. I'm only on 40%, but I'm not going to run it fast, or not for long anyway. So that's for whack, but obviously you go nowhere near that in reality. And we run it more like that, which is what I like. So I can sit and watch that all day like that, and that's very nice. And just run the other way, just to, yeah, it's fine. It's fine now. Like I say, so what I've done to this to get it, it took a lot longer than I thought. So I took the motor out and unseized I had to unseize all the chassis. It kept getting locked up. And in order to do that, I had to clean out all the old hard grease that had gone hard. I've oiled the con rods and axles. I have also checked and set the back-to-back gauge, which was a bit too small, according to my back-to-back gauge anyway, so I did that, which obviously helps with pickup a bit, but sometimes if your back-to-back is a little small on first radius, it can help, but I set it to the correct thing using the gauge. And then I've replaced the capacitor, which was shorting out as soon as it warmed up. And then internally, one of the pickups on one side, when it pushed in, it seemed to be shorting out, and I can't for the life of me work out why, because it was pressing against plastic. But I sleeved it anyway, and it's fine now. So just to make double sure. So yeah, it's running, and I think this this wagon and this wagon, they look rather splendid, don't they? So off we go again, and what we'll do is we will take some close-up shots and finish up. And as I say, I think what I'm going to do is I will run the HM6000 with the iPad on a separate video, because it's just too late to set that up tonight. I'll probably leave this up and then I'll do that as a separate one. So let's get a... But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do this a couple of weeks ago because my hands were too swollen up, but they're not too bad now. So but yeah, that's a really lovely set. I am on the lookout for one of the original 1963 ones, but they're generally in very poor condition and people want silly money for them. So whether I get one or not, I don't know. I nearly bought the passenger set that came out a couple of years ago, but there was a whole kerfuffle over whether it was first radius or not, and I thought, well, if it's first radius, I buy it because I can get it out, set it up, play with it. I've got loads of first radius loops of different track types, but I just thought it's nice to be able to get the set down, set the set up. One compromise I've done is I've used this piece from my Hornby first radius, a modern connector, just for convenience. Other than that, this is the track. It's just that straight, 60 whatever it is, 600 straight. So these are just a bit more convenient to use than those clips. And maybe I should have used the clip for authenticity, but you know, it's taken me a long time to get this to work tonight, which is annoying because it's quite a new set, but you know, I don't mind that. I didn't pay anywhere near the full price for it, and I'm really rather pleased with it. So there we go. So I think what we'll do, we'll do some running shots, and then that'll be that. So yeah, we'll cut to close running shots to finish. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. I really do like these sets that Hornby do with the retro style. The box they come in is so much higher quality, and you've got the box art and everything. To my mind, this is what a train set should be like. It's like a premium thing. Some of the modern ones, I mean, they're all right. I think they've improved the box and things recently, but I think this is rather nice. So so there we have it. I'm not sure what's next. I haven't got that many more sets to review, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at my micro layouts that I'm building. I've had to pause them because I haven't had the manual dexterity to be able to do anything with them. There's some fiddly work to do on some of them, but I've got a sort of some N gauge and various other things that I'm working on in little kind of cabinets. So we're going to be doing some of that next, but I'm always going to be looking out for cheap train sets that need work. So don't be surprised if there's more older 60s ones to come. But yeah, this is a lovely retro tribute to a 60s set, and I think it looks absolutely brilliant. So yeah, let's do some close shots, shall we?